I'm going to move through this quickly. I'm going to bounce around on this, but we'll see where we go. And the Center for Regional Disaster Resilience, that resilience name was picked back in like 2003. So we're not Johnny-come-lately to the resilience name from that perspective. Anyway, anybody recognize this? Gutenberg Press, hey! And I think we are having a Gutenberg Press moment. It is, you know, the Reformation, what it did, it allowed information to flow. You know, it didn't just have monks hand copying things, you could print stuff. The Reformation would not have happened without Gutenberg Press. It printed the German Bible, and in the original language, German. Yeah. And so today, whether it's Al Gore or whatever, I mean 1970s, so the internet was born, and we're kind of oozing into that. And what I'd like to share with you is reality. So when the internet became more broadly known, government started to use it, I'm talking like 1998, 2000. Not everyone could be on the internet if you were in government. It was for special people. Yeah. So imagine not being on the internet today. What would that mean, you know, to us? Well, the social media today, only special people can be on social media in government, I'll tell you that. And I think that will change because it'll be just like another tool that everyone is using, but we'll have to overcome some of these things. Anybody over the age of 30 cannot respond. I don't know if you have any. Anybody know what this is if you're under the age of 30? Oh. Okay, and then I have a question. It's phone, right? Why is this dirty there? I mean, you know, is it because it's an automobile shop?
Because you used to like circle around to get the numbers.
Yeah, but why is it dirty? We'll get to that later.
Nobody wants
We'll
to
explain that. Okay, but the issue is, this is the government pace of change. These phones came out probably, you know, late 40s, 50s, and we used these phones for about 30 years. You buy a phone, it keeps working. Then we evolved, and I have a picture of it, to push buttons. It looked just like this, but it had push buttons. That was kind of evolving technology. But we're used to buying something in government that lasts a really, really long time. You know, we're keeping up with technology. Anybody have an Echo? There you go. I mean, you can use Echo as a phone. They call Bill or Marie or whatever. If it's in your address book, you can do that today. We've got 3 in our house, and we gave 8 as gifts at Christmas. I mean, it's a wonderful deal. But that's the phone of today, plus, you know, all the other pieces. Then if you were really cool, I actually bought my wife one of these. This is the Motorola flip phone. And phones were bigger. The original cell phones actually called them a brick because it looked like a brick. But whatever. But this, you know, but it's adjacent technology. Did it change a lot? No. I mean, the design's cool, much more portable. You can carry the battery, lasts longer. But really, the big change came with, bingo, I bought a disruptive technology. Again, now for us old folks, whatever. Imagine, you know, it's only been 10 years since the iPhone came out. Only 10 years. And how do you function today? I mean, you gotta have apps, right? And connectivity and GPS and whatever. So this was in 1995 or so. Where were we? We had desk phones, and we had what's called a PBX. I was at Washington State Emergency Management, and he actually had a phone switch with the private branch exchange. It cost about $500,000-$600,000, but that's where the phone traffic went. Maybe a computer, I mean, go back to my Army days, you wrote everything up longhand, handed it to the typist, who would type it up on an IBM Selectric. That was a really cool device. I didn't have a cell phone. The first cell phone I had was more the size of a laptop. There, fax machine, number only page, a real inbox that, you know, you got stuff in, and Y2K was at the year 2000. They were concerned about how programs were designed, but there's enough legacy information on how you do this the old-fashioned way that you could do a manual backup. I think manual backups, if you aren't digitally connected, if the system's not all working, you're done. You cannot function because there are no manual backups. Nobody remembers how to do it, right? So options for implementing technology. This is a big deal for organizations, especially government. But where do you want to be on that list? You know, do you want to be bleeding edge, or do you want to be, you know, no one would say we want to be antiquated, although I think some choose to be there, but they want to be proven. We don't want to invest money into something that's not going to work and has problems with it. So we can't adopt too early up here, because then we'll have, I call them dry holes. You get $1 million, $500,000 implement in government, I'm talking about, and it doesn't work. They aren't going to give you another $500,000 or $1 million because you made a mistake. So there's a lot of emphasis on getting it right, which means they're not up around here. I don't mind being around here, but most people would rather be down here in the proven side of things. Okay, so things are changing really fast. You guys know this. The largest taxi company today is Uber, right? World's largest hotel chain.
Airbnb?
That's right. And the world's largest retail.
Amazon.
No. No, Walmart is still.
Still? Oh, okay.
That's a trick question. So Walmart is still the largest retailer. But yeah, the end is near. And then talk about choices. This is a great example here. So 2011, they convinced the legislature to appropriate $250 million to build a massive data center to store the electronic records for the state, consolidated. That is basically empty now, right?
Yeah.
Because of cloud technology.
Right.
But that is what you would call a dry hole there for sure, because of the cloud. And when the cloud first came out, everybody, especially cops, you know, we can't be putting our stuff in unsecured areas, so security was a big issue. Microsoft Azure is one of the cloud storage, but they've based it on security because they've had problems in the past. And what's coming, you know, good old predictive technologies, you know, when you look at something on the internet, as you go to CNN, boom, right? You're seeing the same stuff you looked at before, because they're tracking you. How do they do that? So, changing workforce. Thank goodness the boomers, I'm a boomer, are retiring. So there's good news. And for anybody that's going to be looking for a job, don't worry. People retire, they get fired, they get laid off, and they die every day. So there will be jobs, but fewer. But really the Generation Y is moving in, so, and it's a little bit of confliction there because we've got different ideas from that. But, you know, desk phones now, instead of a switch, they're all in IP-based. You know, we got all these tools. We have social media, Twitter. Not everybody can use them necessarily, but they're there. The cloud, and I think the machine-to-machine aspect of it. And I think, like the early warning seismic safety system, warning the public is screw it. No one will react fast enough. You got to send out the signal, detect it, notify the elevator, stop at the next floor, and have a voice say, earthquake, exit, or slow down our super slow trains anyway. We do all these things with technology. That machine-to-machine is a biggie that's coming. The question is, I'm giving this from a government perspective, why we don't necessarily lead. This has been my journey. I had a Palm Pilot way back, and then this is actually an HP. It was really cool. It had a collapsible keyboard. You pull out, put it on there, do things. But is a BlackBerry, what did it have? It had email. So, That's it. Then, of course, iPhone, iPad. And I think wearables are next. Anybody have any wearables they're using today? That's right. And Nike's making t-shirts now. They're fairly expensive. 80 bucks, 100 bucks. It has wearable technology built into it. Monitor your heart rate, breathing, all that. But the issue becomes, where do you plug in? You know, this goes back to the proven technology. You know, I can't make a mistake. You know, I need to buy something that's going to be around for 5, 6 years. And, how often do you update your cell phone from that standpoint? So, where do you plug in is what this is about. I think you go here, here, here. You just keep going with the flow in order to stay current from that standpoint. Let me explain coordination in the past. I don't think people can understand how slow it was. We would actually type out plans, and I'm talking about disaster plan, mitigation plan. Of course, we didn't have mitigation back then. We didn't care about that. The disaster response. Send it by mail out to various agencies, ask them to comment, and what their comments were by marking pen and ink changes in the written document, and then they would send it back to us. We would incorporate those changes, and then there'd be a letter of promulgation from the executive, governor, whatever. We'd print those plans out, send them out, and everybody got a printing copy. And of course today we do this all in a couple weeks. And we used to, in emergency management, have printing budgets. There are no printing budgets. You're not printing anything. You want a printed hard copy of it, you print it, right? We control it by making a PDF, those types of things. That's changed rapidly. So, if you see this list, I don't know whether you guys have gone all through these, but my question is, what's next? What else is out there now that people are starting to use? I don't know what it is. I know Snapchat, I got a 17-year-old grandson, so, and since. But what's next? What's coming? What is anybody using? Anybody? Don't know?
There's some other secure Twitter-like applications,
Okay.
like FireChat and Slack is used a lot in the IT industry between people now.
Okay. That's used within a particular discipline?
No, friends use it, lots of people use it, but it requires knowing someone versus public
Okay. And what's the name of it?
broadcast. Slack is the most popular one right now.
How do you spell that?
Like Slack.
Like Slack?
Yeah.
No slacker? Slacker, yes. Okay. But I mean,
There are quite a few look-alike and replacements, maybe. Vero for Facebook, Threema for WhatsApp. But you know, it's not, you're asking for something really new. Right?
yes, right.
And that's not so clear.
Well, we don't know. Well, yes.
Well, she triggered my thought, next door as a
Okay.
community-based, and I would say community-based technologies,
Yep.
things like tile, that's starting to link people together, person to person.
Yeah. Yeah. And for a city like Seattle, what's great about Seattle is they have neighborhoods, and people have a sense for being part of something beyond just the city of Seattle. There's neighbor. I think West Seattle is kind of a microcosm there, and Mercer Island, even though it's not, they understand that grouping there. Certainly, we used to call them nuts and berries guys, but that would be the other island, unincorporated. Has a lot of rural areas still on it, west of Seattle.
Vashon?
Yeah, that's right. There you go. But I mean, they have a sense.
Yeah.
And islanders generally understand they're on an island and they're, vulnerable from that standpoint. Okay, I just find this very interesting how we started with vinyl and we're ending up with vinyl to a degree. But, what made, car radio was portable. And I say the 8-track, transistor radio, about 1965, I remember my sister, 2-year-old, is sitting out on the lawn getting a tan. She'd have the transistor radio. But she could take that music with her wherever she went. What changed, though, is this, certainly this, is you get to choose. You're not bound to the radio say what's being played. You put together your playlist, you do all that. Old people know about Napster. Do young people ever heard of Napster? You know, okay, I mean, that was the beginning of the end, destroying the world as we know it, type thing. And my wife is reluctant to throw away all the hundreds of CDs we have. I said, you know, what you're gonna do. That is the dominant cash register, right? NCR, National Cash Register. That could have showed an older one, but you go anywhere right now today, what do you normally see? It's Square or something like Square. Why cost? You know, they're just wiping the floor with NCR, right? From that thing. Okay, so this aspect of, and I'm sharing with Hans here, this technology dominating all aspects of society. I talked to an 89-year-old guy today, and he's, you know, he's an author, and he's pretty still with it. He says, I'm having so much trouble trying to keep up with technology. And I would say that feeling is not just a 90-year-old. That goes down, I'd say, into 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I'm looking more forward to retirement than learning something new from that standpoint. And I think emergency managers, and I've been through this, they think, do I really need to learn this before I retire? That's one. And the other key question is anybody in authority asking me what I'm doing about X? Social media, Twitter, outreach, these other tools. If they're not being asked for it, they aren't necessarily jumping into the pond with it. The other thing we've got going though is we have more hazards happening. We just know more. I mean, Art keeps coming up with new fault zones, you know. The Cascadia, the subduction fault around 91 or whatever, but Seattle fault came after that. South Whidbey fault came after the Tacoma fault. We choose to build all our cities on top of fault line. Is there an Olympia fault? I think there is, right? Olympia? Sure. Oh, good. Great. Sure. We'll meet Olympia out. But it isn't just earthquakes because of our technological side of things. But yeah, I'm supposed to be helping build resilience, but I think we're becoming just more fragile due to our dependence on technology. I'm a technology advocate, but that means you got to make sure that all the systems that make that work, because when it doesn't work, nobody works. A couple years ago, there was a 2-hour power outage in downtown Seattle. They had a vault fire right around lunchtime. Everybody left. I mean, they walked out. They went trying to find some place to eat, and really mobile food trucks, because they had some remote connectivity. They could eat there because they didn't have cash. They, computers weren't working, elevators weren't working. It's a microcosm of how dependent we are on our. So there are going to be winners and losers. And this power thing. If you don't have power, baby, you're just dead in the water, literally, period. So if you look at Hurricane Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, a lot of times close, for New York, all their fuel comes in on ships. It isn't on a pipeline or anything. So they had the event, had to clear the harbor, and then you can get the fuel ships to come in. This is also true, by the way, in Southern California. But you couldn't unload the ships because you had no power. And if you got power to that point, well, then you could get tanker trucks filled up and take them out. But gas stations couldn't, pump because what? They had no power. Elevators, isn't that bad? But New York City, you got 8,000 people in a block, and you got that 89-year-old guy I know on the 20th floor, and no power, right? It's very difficult. A lot of the AmeriCorps volunteers, what they were doing there is running water up to people that are very housebound. And how many days of fuel for generators? We built a $30 million facility out in Renton. I don't know, maybe some of you have been out there to the Regional Coordination, Emergency Coordination Center. And I was asked at the time, well, how much fuel do you need for the generators? We had a generator and we had a backup generator. So, you know, we had redundancy even with generators. And I said, well, I can't find anything where I can justify it beyond 3 days. So that's the 3 days. Today I would say, no, it's 2 weeks. And I thought, well, we're a high enough priority that we'll be able to get fuel with that on the, but if there's no fuel, it doesn't make any difference how high on the priority you are. So we have all these things as sole source, just-in-time delivery, all those things. We're living on the edge. I heard a Costco guy talk about all the water that's in their warehouse, their major warehouse, at the end of the day is in the store. And there's no more water in the warehouse until it's delivered the next day. That, and like Boeing, parts come in, they go on the line, they just keep flowing. There's no warehouse. Okay, corneal mass ejection. Anybody up on CME? You're nodding?
I know what it is.
Okay, what is it?
It's when bursts from the sun basically happen, and there's been like several of them that have hit Earth and actually taken out several power sources, and they can be quite disruptive.
That's right. So, there's the Carrington event. You can look that up. That was back before all we had was telegraph offices. But there were offices caught on fire back in the day. It was like 1850, something like that. I want to say Toronto, Quebec, up there had a surge in that area, took out the electrical grid. The issue is it could impact everything that's electronic. Your individual devices, it would fry, not disrupt, but fry. So, and what we're doing about it is not a lot. I mean, there is some detection. If you look at the FEMA website, it talks about events. They actually have a space weather event saying what the projection is for the next day or so. And we've put a satellite about 1 million miles from Earth to try and detect these things. Comment maybe we'd have about a 4-minute warning. Not a lot of warning. In there unplugging stuff. I don't know, do what you could to try and shut things down. There's a thing called Faraday cage you can put around equipment to kind of distribute that. And you can also have, this is called the CME, there's an EMP. Remember, right, electromagnetic pulse, comes from a nuclear weapon type of thing. Meant to, specifically, it might not cause any destruction, they have it go off 80 miles in the sky to fry everything that's within its reach. So, there you go. Okay, is this evil or is it good? All those think it's evil. Oh, evil, okay. And I say good. But are there evil aspects to it? Absolutely. So, City of Seattle, their police department actually bought 2 drones with Homeland Security money. They did not work out, this is the thing for it, new technology, come up with the policies in advance. Good idea. City council found out about it, and people found out about it, the spying and everything. They made, get rid of those drones. And so they gave them to Los Angeles County Police or City of Los Angeles. So they've got them. But this is a city that has no helicopters. None, zero, If look around, there's lots of things happening. Positive with drone. We're actually doing a project with Northeastern University. Use LiDAR technology, not way up, but real close, to look for bent infrastructure, like doing a bridge inspection, how you can find a crack or bent members and do that quickly. For instance, like on the Ship Canal Bridge, it could take weeks to inspect Ship Canal Bridge after an event. So how do you speed that up, make it happen? And this is a concept. Amazon is throwing patents out the door fast. This is their concept of a beehive type thing, where the drones come in and they interact with humans. They pick up cargo and they go back out. Or they've got trucks driving around the neighborhoods with supplies on it. The drones launch from there, leave the package, then come back. Amazon's working much more in England because they're open to the technology and that aspect of it than we are here in the United States. But the drones are going to come, and the other aspect of this is socializing the use of the technology. That's the big thing, is getting over the people hoop, if you will. So they just aren't evil. Is there a good part? Now, what would I do with a drone to do some nefarious activity? I would construct a pipe bomb, which is pretty simple to do. Might weigh 2 pounds, and all this bag search going into, Century Field. You just got to pop that thing over the thing, hover, 30 feet above the crowd, and set the sucker up. Eventually, someone will use it for that type of purpose also. Unfortunately, but. Oh, missing video. I wonder if this.
Do you need connectivity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Put me on. Beam me up, Scotty.
Beam me up.
Yeah. I thought that would play with how can all right. So it's technological change. All change good. Some of it's bad. Where are you guys on technology?
Mostly good. Someone will always find a way to hack something or use it for a nefarious purpose, regardless of what it does in the world.
Yeah. So I mean, cars are inherently not bad, but they are car bombs, right? Or like in France, they use delivery trucks as, so we should ban all delivery trucks. Well, no, can't do that. But
Jeff, I'm breaking my hands with Windows. Can you help me? I need to just connect with.
I hear a Mac.
Just give me to the network. Oh, here we go.
I think.
I can.
Well, let's be.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah.
I
Gonna help these Apple people out. Who's a PC person? Anybody? Hey! All right, I feel better. Okay, I'm just truth in advertising. My computer is about $2,200. It's a great Dell, blah blah blah. But I thought about going Apple, but I didn't want to have to try and figure it out. I could be dead before I need to know that.
So
see.
we should be in business now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay.
So, now we go back to you.
Yes. Well.
Sorry for that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's go here, and where are we in here? Right? Let's go back. Let's go back. See what happens. Maybe it had to load. All right, we're going to come back to this because you'll be able to see it. Okay, virtual reality.
You want to go full screen again?
Hmm?
Full screen?
Full speed. Full speed. Full speed.
There we go.
Yeah. So, I cannot think of how this is going to be used a lot in emergency management land, but I think it's going to be big. I'd certainly see it for law enforcement for weapons training. Now you have to build like a $2 million simulator where officers will go not shooting real rounds, but having to choose when to draw, when not to draw, when to shoot, when not to shoot. I mean, $600, right? And I'm sure there's some programming that has to happen with that, but we can go beyond. Who's a Pokemon person? Anybody here? I mean, they exploded about 18 months ago. In July, everybody was at the park. I was walking around like this, looking for Pokemon. But the artificial reality, this aspect, businesses, governments, we could use this if we're only, I don't know how to make it. I call it sing and dance, but easily, I mean cheap, and we need to do stuff in the emergency management world that is not boring. And I think this, would be a way to not have, I'm not saying Pokemon specifically, but things like that. Anybody got an iRobot out there? cleaning their house, you know. I was at the flower and garden show. They now have a robotic lawnmower, kind of cool. A couple $1,000, you know, but robotics are here. Okay, autonomous vehicles. We were talking about this before the start here. And this is my number. 85% ready. It's just this incremental improvements. The issue is that last 5%. Well, they're all situations. It's hard, you know, how do you be on the open road and do that? So Mercedes, for instance, had an interesting thing. They've been working this, you know, and they had their algorithms all figured out. And their principle, the premise, you know, the policy behind it is protect the driver. That's a good one, don't you think? So when a little girl walks in front of the car and you're on this narrow street, and if it's protect the driver, what do? Plow through the little girl, right? So I mean, this is the hard part of that, is getting the algorithms all right. But Montana versus downtown New York City, it's a vastly different place. I can tell you, PACCAR built big trucks. They're working on, you know, autonomous vehicles. This idea of platooning, they're about 5 feet apart, second truck. It's just drafting with it. They have drivers in there, but they're just kind of, they're not really driving. They're operators, they're monitoring from that standpoint. I'm sure you guys have seen, when I was 16, I went and got my driver's license that day, 65 Mustang. The guy flunked me on purpose. I went back the next day, and I got my license. But, you know, we're not as enamored with cars. I think maybe the, you know, the big deal about cars is over here in the United States. But, you know, we got the ride-sharing guys. But tell me, why would BMW, Mercedes, Audi, even Peugeot, never buy a Peugeot, by the way. They're not for sale in the United States. If they become for sale, do not buy them. That's my advice. Good advice. But why are these guys getting into, you know, Uber-like Lyft? Why are they getting into it?
Young people are not buying.
Yeah, because they know people aren't going to buy cars,
Yeah.
right? If you need a car, you request it, it won't show up with a driver. I'll have my grandson program, you know, church, grocery store, doctor, where I want to go, I'll push the button. Well, I probably won't push the button, I'll just speak it, and they'll take me where I need to go. But they know the future, and the future is not in car sales. So that's the thing. Other challenges, and this is being debated, worked on across state line. Cars is Internet of Things, talking about other cars on the road. And that's, I always thought, well, there'd be wires and all that. Now it's just GPS and everybody talking to, devices all talking to one another simultaneously, have that happen. And we are going to take the suicide out of car bombs, right? You will not have to, that's one of the things. The other one that I'd share with you that I know is a problem for emergency managers in our profession is ordering an evacuation. Today we would say, you know, blah, 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 hurricane, evacuate. And a small proportion of the people, elderly, low-income people who do not own cars, you'd have to arrange for them to be able to move. 20 years, it may be all flipped. You got 20% who can get in their car and drive, and others are saying, when's my remote control vehicle going to get here? We're going to have to address that. I don't know what other challenges are coming for in emergency management, but evacuation is a biggie. Because we aren't going to be able to tell people to leave. They'll have no means to leave because they won't have their own dedicated vehicle. It'll be a shared experience. And you guys recognize all these things? I just want to say, there's been no collusion. No collusion. Just want to make that remark. Just kidding. You know. Anyway, all of these things, I mean, it used to be a 12-year-old in a basement playing around. Now we have persistent evil threats by, you know, Russia, I would say, and I read this like 5-10 years ago. But other places like France, Israel, they're also very good app looking for industrial secrets and prying into what we have going. Botnets is that thing. I mean, they're self-generating. There's no body there. It's all being done by machine at this point. And the good news is you can buy insurance for that. I didn't realize that till a couple years ago, but insurance companies are selling cyber insurance. It's one of your primary defenses as organizations. Blockchain. Anybody heard of blockchain?
Yep.
So that, I don't know whether it's the solution for the future. This is the way they're trying to secure things like Bitcoin that they're transmit. But the question is, could we take blockchain that takes your information and breaks it up a little bit and sends it everywhere so it doesn't exist as a single file and protect it? Don't know, but they're talking about trying to do that basically. I don't know. I'm waiting for the one-click Amazon buy your car type thing. It should get better. Every time I buy a car, it takes me about 5 hours. Anybody? Right? Go in there, figure out the vehicle, get the financing. Unless, I guess if you're writing checks, it's quicker than that thing. All these things are really right on the cusp. I mean, it's going to explode. Sometimes in reality, and others, it's just that technology is going to explode. Government is having a very tough time trying to keep up with this. And just like, what's the drone policy? The FAA came up, well, 400 feet, under 400 feet, you have to be licensed, and it's just changing so rapidly. It's hard for government to keep up with it. The other one that's changing a lot here is just this 3D printing. Anybody own their own 3D printer? No. No, but I think my grandsons will not go to Lowe's. If they need a screw, they'll find that screw and they'll 3D print it at their house. They aren't going to have to go to the store and buy a hinge or whatever, because you can 3D print all the same thing. 5G, we love speed. It's coming. Good news, you have to buy a new device for it, by the way. But we went through 3G, 4G, 5G is just right around the corner. And coming also, our 911 system is a great example of the infrastructure not keeping up. So we have a digital network here in Washington State, which many states don't have at all. And yet they're not ready for people to contact them via page or Twitter and that. And people think, Red Cross did a study on this, that if they ask for help on social media, this is today, that within an hour, help will come. So that's the public perception. So we got our capability, not so good, and the expectation out here. And the two are not meshed up at all. And we're going to put a whole lot more resources into this. Just, think about the number of screens that this person's a dispatcher. There's a map. This is your calls. This is their radio. It looks like a neighborhood called up another database. So it's pretty complicated. Firstnet is a semi-dedicated access to be rolled out by AT&T nationally. So first responders, when we had the Seahawks victory parade, no one had any connectivity because people were live streaming. This would allow for fire, police, emergency managers to have bandwidth where they can continue to talk and do what they need to do. And data is going to be much more important than voice. And where are we? All right, so this is about cybersecurity. The last big hack that happened was using security cameras built in China, if I remember. And whoever took control of the security cameras as though they were a computer type of thing. And they were able to do that because people had not set anything other than a factory password on all their cameras. So, when you get your t-shirt, that wearable, be sure you change the password on it. The tools to this stuff are much bigger. Okay, I think it's digital, wireless, touch, voice, and this machine-to-machine. That's the future as I can see it today. I thought touch was kind of it, but voice is where it's at. Ford Motor Company is not building cars anymore, if you haven't heard. They're looking to build mobile communication platforms. This is from them. So that's where they see the future, mobile communication. Of course, if you're not driving, that would be a great tool. You know, do a lot. Okay, how do you get this implemented in your organization? The first one I would say is don't tell them what you're doing. That's another one. I highly recommend it. Don't tell the boss. Just do it and be successful, and then they'll love you. But small steps, baby steps, low cost. Find that champion out there that 1 out of 10 commissioners, 1 out of 10 leaders, business leaders, who thinks this is important and is not afraid of technology, making a decision. I call it striving for quality failures. We want quality failures. So we're going to try something, we're really going to try and make it work. If it fails, let's learn from it, but we're not just taking Jell-O and throwing it up on the wall, buying whatever the next vendor walks in the door and says, here, oh, this is wonderful, terrific. So there will be opposition, and you can wait them out because they do retire or die. You can vote with your feet, and I think millennials are much more attuned to that. They're not sticking around if they can't be productive. They'll leave, and remember, if all your staff are leaving, people don't leave organizations, they leave bosses. So if your people are churning, there's a reason for that. And if you want to blame it on we can't pay them enough, you might look a little bit deeper to that. Because pay is not necessarily the deciding factor on a lot of it, especially if you talk about technology. Employment. This is a statement, 20 million jobs will be eliminated, but there'll be 15 million new jobs created. But the 15 million are going to have to be, fairly sophisticated trade. Maybe they're swapping out batteries, programming the devices, but the manual labor that used to exist is not going to be there. Have you guys heard of universal pay at all? And I tell you, people, when I talk to average, Joe, Mary, it goes against, what do you mean we're going to pay you not to work? Finland is working on this now, by the way. Trying to come up with a system, they're piloting it, because if there are no jobs, what do people do? And how do they survive? So that'll become a bigger debate, not immediately, but it's coming. Here we go. And unfortunately, emergency management is driven by events. We need an event like this, it just changes everything, there's money and we do stuff, but Katrina reversed this decision here. This pointed us all towards terrorism, all the money was for terrorism. If you want the money, you gotta work on what they give you, They give you money, you gotta do what they say. That's how the federal government controls state and local emergency management. You take the money, then you gotta use what they're doing. But if the events have driven our work programs. And final thoughts here, just how important, I would think that the boomers, Hans over here, are you a boomer? Good guy, good hair. But really, Generation Z, they're influencing 30 to 55% of purchasing. Now, hard to believe, but a lot more emphasis there. Okay, so not for the older folks, but anybody under the age of 30, 30-ish, what is this? Fine?
Ashtray?
Very good. Is that a guess?
No, it's the same.
You same one? Okay, this was on the desk of every desk, anywhere, certainly in the 30s and 40s and 50s. This was part, you had an inbox, you'd have a phone, and you'd have one of these.
Oh, you used a cup of coffee.
Maybe some coffee. Anyway. And you remember the dirt on that dial? That wasn't dirt, that's nicotine. That was rubbing off the fingers. of the people dialing that is nicotine. I've seen that before. I don't think it was the mechanics' hands that were dirty. But I mean, you know, society changes, we're changing, you know. That one's gone for sure. Okay, and I don't know whether this is Homeland Security in 2161, but it could be. Anybody seen the movie Minority Report back when? You know, is it, who's the actor?
Tom.
Yeah, no, Tom Cruise. Yeah, it was Tom Cruise. But look at that, a lot of that stuff that was in there, now that movie's made 10 years old, we're seeing, you know, motion controls, all this stuff. You know, watch sci-fi shows, and what, you know, the doc here, he used a body scan, I'm sure he'll be scanning bodies. And then, the missing video, that's how it goes, right? So, questions?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, hit me with your best shot.
Well, a lot of the technologies that you talked about, the benefit of them comes from everyone being connected to everyone and everything being connected to everything. And to your question, is that good or bad? I think that it's way too soon to tell. That the kinds of threats that we're starting to see that the public's starting to become aware of show the limitations of that.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard a couple of people talk about, to put it in Hollywood terms, like conscious uncoupling, thinking about that perhaps there are systems that we don't want to have connected to make it so easy and for the Russians to come in and spook that they're locals at using Nextdoor or what have you. So from a resiliency perspective, have you thought about that?
I think we're connected. I think it's going to be very hard to uncouple. There ought to be. I mean, there's, you know, highly secure facilities. I mean, I'm thinking like the old skiff, which is top secret type thing, but there are very few of those ever existed, still exist. I think the whole, everything is just, it's all coming together. And generationally, Gen Z and all that, they're okay. I mean, you know, their life is just out there, right? There's no filter about the privacy aspect.
Until there's a 9/11 that comes their way that's related to these kind of issues, right? I mean, there's predictable threats that are there, right? So.
But I think one of the things is the efficiency is driving so much type thing. I didn't talk about this, but I've talked to people about redundancy, and my redundancy is seen as duplication, and duplication is bad because you eliminate, that's the whole lean manufacturing system that we have. Eliminate all the duplication, wring it out, and so we're running like a sewing machine. But it doesn't take much to, and then it isn't working. So I think it's the horse, the bummer. And it's all about money, the efficiency aspect of it.
You've talked a lot about, from an industrial perspective, from the home perspective and where we live and in our community perspective. You see all these, it's a small world now. Anybody in the world can get connected for free, and everybody's looking at screens, and the next door neighbor doesn't get to know the next door neighbor because of that concept. So how can, and we're starting to see perhaps this bubble will change, and people will want to have human touch, eye to eye, that kind of thing. How is technology looking to kind of help the community, or will it help the community in an emergency response that has gotten so disconnected from each other?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this, but I believe, I blog and I communicate with a lot of people, not immediately, you know, my neighbor, Joe, whatever. And I found personally that I can have an electronic relationship with someone where I you know, build that relationship, and I call it, we establish digital trust. Because it's not the face-to-face aspect of it, but it can be done remotely. But I'm a big believer, it's all about relationships. Everything's about relationships. Emergency management, if you ask any professional emergency management, Wendy, they would say emergency management is all about
Building relationships.
building relationships and maintaining.
Maintaining, right?
And
Maintaining them, right?
A big issue, we've had this up and down aspect here in the state, every organization, discipline or whatever, you got high points where everything's going well, and then you're down here, and then, okay, it gets better. This is when everybody is in place for a while, you got strong relationships, and right now, to a degree, we're in a trough because so many people have left.
Right.
Retired. Retirement. I'm probably one of the last, and Wendy's husband, we're the last old folks standing in general. I mean, I don't know. Art, if you've seen that in your, in the scientific, it's just a lot. The Craig Weavers have retired. The guys that were here for 20 years. I had neighboring, I was the King County Emergency Management Director, Snohomish County, City of Seattle, Pierce County. We were all in place for about 20 years. It was a real high point there. And now we're going to have to come out of it, and it'll be based on building relationships over time and building trust. Trust is the issue there. So I would say this is the other thing. It's interesting how emergent volunteers happen. That in Northridge, there's people that had some collapsed apartment buildings, that type of thing. And so there's a guy risking his life to help the neighbor across the hall whose name he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because, hi, hey, good to see you, hey. But, they'll risk their life for their neighbor when the chips are down and that thing. So the other thing, that's much on technology, well, we could talk about it, is you cannot keep volunteers away. That is a given. They are coming, and you better learn how to use them. Because all the social media stuff, they're self-organizing, they want to be used, they're vocal, they know how to use social media, so find something for them to do. If you turn them away politically, you're going to die. You want them doing risky stuff, they shouldn't be going into a collapsed building brick that's about, but there's things that all volunteers can do. Give them stuff to do.
Eric, you made the point very well that the government basically has to rely on proven technology rather than going to the bleeding edge.
Well, that's where they feel comfortable.
Yeah, well, except for the military that has to go to the bleeding edge. But the other thing is, government employees, including emergency responders, don't stay with their Motorola phones, but rather have their iPhone 10s. And if there's an emergency, they of course use that. I mean, I interviewed one of the chiefs of the urban search and rescue teams at OSO, and he said, he showed me this thing. He said, do you think we could use this or have used that? I did my geolocation with my iPhone here, and that is how we marked up the debris field. So I guess one of the problems is that on the one hand, if you have more modern technology, you introduce more vulnerabilities. That's number one. Yeah. On the other hand, in the response, particularly once power comes back, you have to scale towards, from maybe T cards or whatever you did low tech to higher tech anyway. So I would say it makes sense to me to actually have a good mix of technology from the low tech to the highest tech that you can have.
Yeah, but the system doesn't support that.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So the other thing I didn't talk about was CME, the sunspots, all that. We talked about maybe not having power for months, even years. There are not generators, but transformers are none of them are made in the United States. None of them. And they're not like bricks, you put one in, take it out, whatever. They're all kind of built for a specific application. If you need one, you order it 18 months in advance.
Yeah. The big guy in the last talk said 2 years if our power plant power distribution system goes down. It could be 2 years for Seattle without power.
Yep. I'll tell you, the other thing, it's interesting with power companies, I want to do a long-term power outage exercise. We got some money to do that actually in 2019, a tabletop. But guess who doesn't want to do the long-term power outage? The power company. You know, they say, oh, can't we just do, you know, a bad winter storm? No, I think we should, you know, we're not good, we have a tendency to try and exercise things we can control, and that's not good. But it's a significant hurdle to be overcome. Everybody wants solvable problems.
I have one other thing that I want to ask
I
you.
don't know, what is you need to take a back seat. Okay, yes.
I know you were a great supporter of First to See.
Yes.
And First to See is gone. We should just quickly mention what First to See.
Want to have a moment of silence? I think First See is a great example of, yeah, let me talk about that real quick. My thought was, I was at the Port of Tacoma, get some money, and we should have a social media app where people can report damages and stuff like that. So we got the money, like $40,000. I went to Pierce County, and we could contract with them, didn't have to do an RFP. Wonderful woman, we developed this thing, and I went out to emergency managers, say, hey, we got this, it'd be great for you to use. You can, actually the back end of it was you can see what's happening in social media. People don't have to actually have the app, but you can just see it. And it was overwhelmingly rejected.
I couldn't believe it.
It was like 4 or 6 years ago. I couldn't give it. It was free. And it was like, oh, I don't use social media. Okay. How about your agents? You know? And well, we don't have anybody, kind of like the internet, who would do this. And my thing is, we're all doing it just like the internet. Everybody does it. So, yeah, change is hard. The only people that like change are, I'm trying to think of the other one, but, well, I guess it is the only one. Babies with wet diapers, they love change. Change, we are not, we need more young people coming in, and I think that actually is happening because universities and colleges are pumping them out, but there's still sergeants and firefighter, police, whatever, who have had a 20-year career coming in, and they still don't have the technological background. Sometimes it's hard for the younger people to get in. But there we need a mix of people. Somebody with really good operational judgment, and then someone who's not afraid of technology.
Yeah.